there's lots of conversations around, FCA reviews and so on, but also how do you pinpoint it back to the technology that you're working with to make sure that it's efficient in that process, but it's ticking those right boxes as well. And I think it'd be good to understand how that works in terms of evidencing the good customer outcomes and
Yeah.
how you do that.
Yeah, well, so it's again another big buzzword in the industry, kind of customer outcomes and how do you evidence those? So the way that we've always looked at this is there are a couple of things that you need to do. So you need to be able to collate all interactions with a client into one place for the journey. Then you need to evaluate each of those kind of conversations and interactions, and then at the end of it, kind of say, okay, well, have I done a good job or not? It's immensely time consuming. And complicated and manual currently, and so whilst you get some of the big retail banks have quite large teams who do outcome testing in general, the wealth management section get their share, but in general, what happens is that their sample rates are really small. Because it takes so long to do things, you'd effectively need an army of compliance experts and QAs.
And no one has that.
And no one either got the appetite or the budget for that. So we look at it, okay, how do you make that more efficient and more effective? And there are two elements to it. So the first element is around how do you triage all the conversations to identify the parts of the interactions that are not quite right. And again, we use AI for that. So we've got predictive AI models that we've built and we've kind of tuned and trained over time for the wealth management sector. Those models, when you apply them to conversations, will identify which parts of the interaction are good and which parts of the interaction are bad. We'll highlight areas that haven't happened properly when they should have done. And by doing it that way, you can then say, okay, well, for these 95% of clients over here, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a QA check, then 95% of your time as a QA is checking those cases that are absolutely fine. So it's a bit like needles in haystacks. And so what we do is by triaging all of the interactions, we're able to create a needle stack. So that you're always going at cases that have something wrong with them, and then you point the people at them. So it effectively increases your sample rate by an effective rate of 20. And then once you have your needle stack, you have to find a way to evaluate those needles kind of more quickly, more effectively. And again, the AI does that. So when you're actually reviewing a conversation, we can look at the different segments and themes of the conversation. If you know there's a problem in a particular area, rather than listen to a conversation from start to end, you can pinpoint exactly where you want to look at and see exactly what happened and what didn't happen. And so that way you're able to significantly increase the sample rate you do in outcome testing without increasing your people.
Yeah, that's really
interesting. Kind of gives everybody what they want, really. So the senior bosses get their compliance cover. They haven't got to spend any more money. And the compliance team actually get a more interesting job because they are, again, using their brains more. So it's not just listening to or going through papers and looking documents end to end. You're being pointed at the bits that are wrong, and then that's where you kind of use the proper reasoning stuff that we papered before.
And the assessment then comes off the back of the individual consultants actually working out what it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting.
Exactly.
So obviously there's the AI solution that's particularly suited for our customers. How does it work in terms of the ongoing advice, compliance, and suitability reviews?
So there's a number of factors here. So if we look at ongoing advice, so I mentioned the documentation analysis piece, which will effectively say, have you got the right documents that prove the review has been done? And so that's all done based on some technology we kind of built for the Australian market 4 or 5 years ago, which I'm sure we can kind of pick up a little later. So that will tell you that you have the right documentation. So part of the proof the FCA was after was, can you show me an updated fact find, a suitability report, an attitude and risk document that's been updated? And if you got those 3 things, pretty much it's been done. And so we can kind of tick that box, and then via kind of workflow, if any case hasn't had that, then you can automatically go back to the advisor and say, where's your documentation? You should have it. And that kind of resolves all of that kind of issue and gives confidence to the business that they've got all the evidence they need. The second part of that then is in the the actual content of the conversation.
Mm.
So you could easily complete a fact find and a suitability record off a conversation of, "Hi Dave, how's everything? Yeah, all good. All the same as last year. Same as last year. Great, thanks very much." And kind of just copy the information across. So the kind of gold standard then is to actually look at the conversation. And so if you're recording the conversation, the AI then will be able to pick up all the different elements of that checklist that you should be talking about. Have you covered off all the areas of affordability? Have you covered off kind of any changes in circumstances, any future expected circumstance changes? And so that then gives you your gold standard of not only has a review been done, but it was a solid review.
To a certain standard, yeah.
And then suitability checks then slightly different. So we do suitability checks from a technology perspective, and then the TCC group, our sister company, actually uses the technology to provide suitability checking for organizations in the wealth management sector. So Ativo is one of our big clients, and they've been using this for quite some time. And there are a lot of things that Ativo are achieving with a combined result of the suitability checks done by TCC and the technology.
So if we had a crystal ball in front of us, what are your views in terms of what the future looks like for AI, specifically around Gen AI and predictive AI?
Well, I think in the distant future, I think generative AI and large language models become large comprehension models, where the AI actually understands the context of the conversation that's going on. And at that point, I think you're able to deliver some really significant benefits to an organization. But that's 5-10 years. And until we get there, generative AI, it's in the name, it generates stuff. So it's about creating things. So if you're looking to write a new song, create a piece of literature, cheat in a school exam, Gen AI is brilliant. But if you're looking to find things, you need predictive AI. And so for the wealth management sector specifically, I think when you're looking at the future, you go, generative AI is ubiquitous at the moment. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's kind of drinking the Kool-Aid and everyone's using it. But quite a few people are also coming off it. They've tried it. It doesn't really work. It's not quite fit for purpose. It hasn't kind of delivered the results they were hoping for. It's been potentially a little oversold. We are going to need to get to a place, and the kind of for kind of the future for Recordsure, and I think the future for the industry, is to be able to get to a place where you can extract data from conversations. We do want to get to a place where a fact find or a suitability letter can be pre-populated. We're never going to be able to automate it 100% because human speech isn't such that you can do that. I've listened to a number of conversations where people asked about retirement age. And they go, "Oh yeah, I'll be retiring at 60. Well, that's the easy one, 60. Well, maybe 60. If I could do it at 58, I'd do it at 58, although the wife always says I've got to do it at 62. And you go, an AI cannot take anything from that and kind of guarantee you get it right. So generative AI will choose one and it will state it as a fact. Predictive AI will give you a number and it'll give you a kind of a confidence factor on it. In that particular situation, the confidence factor won't be high. Because I'm not sure what it would be off that, if I'm being honest. And so it would then provide you with, as a human user, all the context around that conversation to be able to read and make your own decision as to whether the AI's got it right or you want to change it. And so we are moving that way. Recordsure are going to be delivering in the front end of next year a solution for that. We are using predictive AI models to extract data. We're then going to use that data both in improved AI meeting notes and also to kind of pre-populate templates for fact finds, suitability letters, and to get that information back into IntelliFlow.
Yeah, great.
For you guys to use it as well.
And I think going back to your point earlier, it requires that oversight from an advisor
completely.
Absolutely, and I think that's key. A lot of people have this opinion that it's going to do it all for you.
Yes.
And the reality of it is, going back to your point, it isn't.
No.
It might do that 90% of the admin work that's required, but you still need that oversight and that check.
Or it does. Even now, I think it does a great first draft. In terms of efficiency savings, they are there. They are meaningful. They are significant, and they are real. And even from a consistency perspective, it allows different advisors who would have different levels of note taking to all be brought up to the same and similar kind of level. And the fact that you've got that transcript sat in your system means that even though the meeting note might not be 100%, you know exactly what was said. And so from a Gen AI perspective, I think it does add value.
Yes.
It is a good first step, but it doesn't do quite what it says on the tin. You're not going to be able to ignore it and go, well, as soon as the conversation's over, it can go straight into the suitability letter and we don't even need paraplanners anymore. Yes. That's a fallacy, I think. And it's one that's been sold, and it's one that's I think everyone wants to buy into. It'd be a lovely world where you could save a huge amount of cost from your back office team simply by utilizing AI. But as you say, you need to validate that information. And whilst it's a good first draft, that is all it is.